Frank, thanks ever so much for letting us come and having a chat to you.
No problem.
We're trying to do the sort of Bampton farming history, because only this week the last load of milk from Bampton went.
So I understand.
From now on, no more milk being produced in Bampton. Now your family goes back many years with farming, and I wonder if I could sort of throw one or two questions at you, and you can talk us through the stories of it. So my recollections of your gramp at Castleview Farm there, was it was a pig farm, is that right?
Well, yes, Gramp initially came from Cote, up near Aston. He came to Bampton in probably around about 1910, 1911. In fact, he took over the Elephant and Castle public house in Bridge Street in 1913, and he had a pigs at the back of Elephant and Castle. He kept a number of pigs there, yes. What he used to do is to buy what they called weaners, which is the small piglets, and fatten them up until they were bacon size and then sell them off to the farms, to the abattoirs, sorry. He kept the pub for 22 years, and quite many tales he told me about the pub, you know, where people used to, or men used to come in early morning, knock him up at 6 o'clock in the morning and say, "Aren't you going to open up this morning?" They wanted their beer. They wanted their beer because they were going to walk to Buscott to build the wall around Farringdon Estate. They were building that wall. They used to walk there. But there are many other tales that probably I've forgotten most of them. But then in 1935, he moved across the road to Castleview Farm.
Well, it came on the market and he bought it.
I assume so, yes. He wanted to increase his holding of pigs and increase his workload. So yes, he moved across there and increased, well, as I can remember, he had well over 100 odd pigs over there at certain times, you know. And he was very good at his job in that respect. He used to go to many fat stock shows at Christmas time, Abingdon and Banbury, I remember going to as a child, and he used to come back invariably with quite a few prizes. And he did that all the time I was there. You know, I came along in 1936, which is the year after he moved to Castleview. In fact, I was brought up by my grandparents because my father worked on. My father was born in Aston in 1896, and the family moved to Bampton and lived up at Plantation Cottages, which are now knocked down. They're way across the fields if you walk across the path opposite the manor, Wheeled Manor. They lived there and he worked on Hamcourt Farm. He then went into the First World War, this is my father, and did his stint in there. Unfortunately he was injured and invalided out, and following that he began working for my grandfather.
Can I put in there?
Yes.
If he worked for Hamcourt, were they producing milk then, did Dad ever say?
He never said. It was more agricultural, I think.
That's for
Yes.
the arable.
I found a photo in his cottage when he died of two tractors, old tractors outside
Brilliant.
the barn.
Brilliant. Hopefully we can have a look at them.
In Hamcourt. So yes, he. That's as I understand it. He worked for my grandfather then, and met my mother, Ethel Townsend, and met Ethel Mary actually Townsend, and they married. And as I say, I came along in 1936.
So your dad was working on, you see, my memories of your dad, he was Mr. Ferguson at Central Garage Bampton.
Yes,
you know,
well,
he could do anything with it, and he used to demonstrate the little grey Fergie tractors.
Yes, yes.
You know, he'd do a garden with it. He was absolutely mad. do you think that's where his first interest came in the mechanical side rather than...
I think probably, yes. Obviously working on the farm, you get engineer orientated, I guess.
Yeah.
Mending things that, you know. Yes, he picked this up, and in fact, after he finished with my grandfather working for them, he did work for the Central Garage at Bampton as a mechanic. It was then, many years later, taken over by Bath Garages, who were into the new Ferguson tractor that came out. And in fact, I remember going up to Banner Lane with Dad with a low loader, and he used to bring, I think it was 4 tractors on the back of the new tractors back to the Central Garage, and some down to the Bath Garage in Bath. Yes.
Where's Barrow Lane?
Banner Lane.
Banner Lane
is in Coventry.
Right.
Yes, the home of the Ferguson.
Ferguson, yes, I believe. I don't know whether it's still.
I think Banner is still operative.
I think it is. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But that was quite an exciting day out for me in those days. You know, I was probably about 8 or 10. You know.
Like, if you can think about my memories of Grampy, or people told me that Grampy had the first ever lorry in Bampton.
He had an old Model T Ford, which again my father used to drive. Yes. Now whether it was the first lorry in Bampton, I don't know, but it was one of the first few. I'm sure.
He was rearing pigs, running a pub,
I think
doing hauling.
I think my grandfather was a bit of an entrepreneur in a lot of things. I mean, he also initially was into with the horses and pony and trap and a carriage where he used to do cartering from the station, which is Bampton Bros Norton Station, now long gone. And he used to ferry people up and take goods up there, and as far as I understand, yes. And then of course later on he had a coal business. Right. He started up a coal business, and that was his 2 sons. That was Jack and Thomas Townsend, which is son, always known as Son Townsend. Yeah. They worked on the farm and coal business. Also, he had 2 other workers on there. One was a Percy Radband, who lived just the back of Castleview in the old. It was a thatched cottage in those days. He was known as Perky Radband. Yeah. So many people had nicknames in those days. Yeah. And then there was
Perky was an appropriate name because he was very perky person.
He was, yes, yeah. He was a right character. He was.
Absolutely.
He could only see out of one eye, but he made up for it. He could see a long way. I'm telling you. Yeah. The other fellow that worked for Gramp was Bert Whitlock.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
He lived up towards the back of the Elephant and Castle, actually. Who lives there now?
Brian Q.
Brian Q lives there.
That's right, yeah.
He lived in there with his wife, and I think they had 2 sons, I think it was. But Bert worked for Gramp as long as I can remember, until he sort of passed away.
I forgot all about that. I knew Perky. So there was pigs, haulier, coal business. Now, my early recollections of dealing with Gramp was more dealing with Sunner. Because Sunner used to do a lot of wheeling and dealing with, like you said earlier on about the markets, going to the markets and that. Well, Sunner did that. He went to every single market, buying calves and cows.
Yes, well, they were into.
So Grampy had that going as well. Then?
Yes. He didn't have many cows. He just had some milking cows, as far as I can remember. He used to have a few calves in sties next to the pigs and so forth. But
so he did Gramp milk cows?
Only just for
the house,
for themselves
and the pigs.
What, as I remember it, there was a farm down Weald who was Pinnocks.
The Jersey. Yeah.
And they used to supply milk, and we used to go down there. As a child, I used to go down there with a tin can and get milk. This was before Gramp bought.
See, I often wonder why you were Miss Hobbs' pet. I'll bet you used to bring her milk back because she used to get milk from
her milk.
She used to get milk from the Pinnocks as well.
I don't know. I just remember going down there at times. Yeah. But, perhaps we did bring each other's back. I don't know, but
because they're only living across the road.
As I say, and then Gramp bought some cows, and they were kept up at the field up the Clanfield Road, known as the Bourne. There again, all fields were named in those days, and this was the Bourne.
That was just this side of the 2 bungalows, the Bampton
just this side of the 2 bungalows, which were 2 bungalows. Yes. One was a house now, and I think the other bungalow is called Bourne Bungalow.
You're right.
Bourne Bungalow, I think it is.
So it's
You're
after
right.
the name of the field.
Yes, that is the name of the field.
I never.
Always used to be a good mushroom field up there.
Yeah, you're right. I
Yes.
forgot all about that.
So, you know, son used to go up there and milk the cows and bring the milk back down, and then quite often it was left to me to churn the butter.
Right.
There was a lovely pantry in Castleview with a stone floor. I kept it nice and cool, but churning the butter in the summertime was quite hard going because it wouldn't
What
it
type
wouldn't turn.
of churn was it?
It's just a wooden churn. You just turn the handle,
like
yes.
a barrel that
yes.
you turned over.
Yes, and then we went really upmarket and had an electric one.
Oh, did you?
Oh,
That was wonderful.
Did
Stopped
you
me
really?
churning it, yes, yes.
So then you would sell the butter in Bampton or
No,
what?
we used to use it for ourselves, that was all. And the cream, of course.
No wonder you grew up to be Bampton's goalkeeper,
Well,
nice and big lump for the
I used, to have my
hole.
share, I used to have my share of cream. They said, all these fatty things don't do you any good.
Well,
I
you're
know.
doing all right now.
My grandfather lived till 85, and an uncle of mine, he was a butcher and he used to eat more fat than lean, and he lived till 84, I think it was, when he died. So
And Dad was 90, wasn't he?
Dad was 85, so
Nice
we've
job.
got another 10 years to go yet.
Frank, going back to Senna and doing markets, whose lorry did he use to transport it? So was that Granby's lorry?
Yes,
Did you
we
have
used-
your own cattle wagon?
We used to have a Ford V8 lorry, which they used as a cattle wagon, and then when they went into the coal business, it was used for coal. But they didn't
yes,
do-
of course,
they
you take the
didn't-
back off.
They didn't used to do the both. You know, they didn't when the cattle finished and that and so forth. They went on to the coal business. So.
Was it? Am I right in thinking it was a Fordson lorry?
Yes, Fordson.
That's right.
Yes, a
Because
Fordson
most
V8.
lorries were called Ford, but that was called
Yes,
Fordson,
yes.
wasn't it?
I think Grant was into Fords. He had two old, well, they were reasonably new at the time, the baby Fords, tractors.
Yeah, yeah.
He had two of those that he used on the land because he did agricultural mainly and some hay and straw, so forth, you know. But these baby Fords, I always remember. I didn't used to do it in my younger days, obviously, but to start them up, you had the starting handle, and they used to kick back quite often, you know, and one had to be very careful, or else you lost your thumb on him.
Yeah, or you took your thumb in.
Yes, yeah.
He had two tractors, did he?
Yes, he had two. Yeah, yes.
So, 'cause I
And they were
Go on.
paraffin petrol.
Yeah.
You started them up on petrol, and then you switched over to paraffin when it
Paraffin.
just.
Because I remember Perky,
Okay.
he was either doing some contract work for Perth Shepherd, and I got stuck with a set of disc harrows and couldn't move in his Upgog Lane, and I went through to Perky and asked him if he'd come and give me a tow, and he just walked over and showed me. He was so clever on how to get a tractor out of that situation. He just said, well, pull your pin out, drive forward, run up the field to clean your cleats,
Yeah.
back, hitch on and away it went
Very
again.
good, yeah.
He was so clever.
Oh, he was a very
so-
good worker.
so
Very hard
talented.
worker he was.
Yeah, very
Very
talented.
hard. But-
See, but Dad, your dad being at Central Garage, they had two lorries, if I remember right. Certainly one. I thought they had two Morris commercial lorries. And
This
they
was a
did
Morris
transport
commercial
it.
we used to go up to Banner Lane with. Yes,
Oh.
it was a. I think it was an articulated lorry.
Was
A
it?
very early articulated lorry, not terribly big one. Just about. I'm not sure it was 3 or 4 tracks you could get on sideways across.
Yeah.
And he had to be careful. I know coming back because it overhung the side of the lorry. I mean, I don't think he'd be allowed to
Do it today.
to do it today, but in those days it was okay. But yeah, it was quite interesting going to Banner Lane. As I say, it's
Yeah.
one late of the week.
So, did the farming shut down to allow the coal to take on?
The farming certainly ran down when Grant had the coal business because that was a full-time job. As I say, you used to go up to the station to Bampton and Bryce Norton Station, and it just came in trucks, and you had to shovel it out either onto the lorry itself or into bags, weigh it and put it into bags straight away, 100-weight bags, and they used to deliver it and so forth, you know.
Do you think that was Granby's intention to go more into direct selling to the public as opposed to the long way to the pub, rearing a pig, selling the pig.
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps there was more in it. And, you know, prices of pigs go up and down today as they did then, I think. And perhaps that was. I don't know the full reason.
When we were farming, we occasionally got Butcher Harrison to help us out with calves, etc. That, you know, probably a poorly calf. Then he would slaughter it properly and use to me. Did Grandpa use Butcher?
Yes, very much so. As I remember, there was always a pig in the pantry, right throughout. As far as I can remember, we had a big salting trough there. But yes, Jack Harrison used to come down. I remember him slaughtering the pig, and they used to burn the hair off, and then hang it up overnight, and then he would come down the next day and cut it up, and it would be, as I say, put in the salting trough, a big lead salting trough in the pantry.
I remember your pantry and remember it being so cool.
It's still the same now.
Is it really?
I was in there 12 months or more ago, and yes, it's.
I went in with the mummers. I think it was the last year I did the mummers, and there's loads and loads of signatures and writing on the wall that was done years and years ago.
Well, that was Dora's.
It was Dora did it.
Yes. Yes, I've been asked in there to look at it because I didn't really
what
know
did you
it was
think?
there.
It was a surprise to me.
Yeah. It was just dates, like, you know, I think when Gran and Grandpa got married and so forth. Dora had written it on the wall and then papered over it. So, when they went to replace the paper, and they found these writings.
So going back to the killing of the pigs, I remember when Jack Buckingham, you know, the Buckinghams, Wally Buckingham,
yes.
That lot, that family, when they had their pig killed, it was a big celebration.
Oh yes,
everybody
it was quite
gathered.
there was one or two goose to come down and
yeah.
Talking about pigs being killed and Buckinghams, but Percy Shepherd, who lived down the Buckland Road, he was also a bit of a farmer.
That's right.
When they had a pig killed down there, he used to cut the tail off and eat it raw.
No.
Percy did, yeah.
That tastes good.
I know, yeah, well, it's a bit chewy, I would think, but not to my taste. No, I'd sooner have it cooked.
That Tommy Guerin said they used to peep through the knot holes in the gates at the Elephant and Castle and watch somebody slaughter the pigs there and burn them.
Well, that would be his
Quite
grand.
likely,
That would be Frank's grand.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Because it is.
Oh yeah, he used to.
Definitely, if it's definitely Elephant Castle, Tommy is 89 years of age now.
Yeah.
So it would.
Yeah. Oh yes, it would be. Yeah.
Because he mentioned it as a child, you know,
Did he?
going peep through and he was squealing and sticking with the pig. And
he didn't squeal for long.
Yeah. But they must have, there must have been quite. I remember Grant saying, I mean, just when we was at the Castle View, he'd say, if anybody digs deep enough over the Elephant and Castle in the gardens, he said, God knows what they'll find. I think they used to bury quite a lot of things in there. And I wondered if they did find anything when the houses were built. But, I didn't hear of anything, but there might have been a few bones down there, I think.
There have been excavators that dig.
Yes.
Pig bones.
Oh yes, yeah. But no, going back to Jack Harrison, he was quite a character anyway,
Wasn't he?
Yes. But
See, Bampton was so full of lovely characters
yes.
in those days.
And so many farms about too.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember. Well, who was before you down Weald?
Jack Oliver.
Ah, Jack Oliver. Yes, that was in that field, but farther down Weald.
But
that's the tap. I can't remember. Yes.
Yeah, Tommy's been brilliant. Tommy, because I didn't know this. Do you remember where the go-to-beds used to live? Where Celia Collins lived? There was the ash, the poplar tree, wasn't it, down Weald?
Oh yes,
Big
that's
poplar
right.
tree.
Yes.
And there was a little red brick cottage
yes, there was.
Well, Tommy used to live in there with Pop Guerin.
Yeah.
And so Tommy was able to take us through the bats and who's a thing that did beat us, Frank, was when I first came to Weald in 1943, the farmer down, which was Glebe Farm, and it turned out that was a Mr. Hyatt.
Hyatt, yes, I remember the name, but
I couldn't. I had no way could I, but Tommy took us all, because they used to milk.
Yes.
Old Alan Parker's dad.
Yeah.
Really?
Markers, yeah. Oh,
Farther
yes.
round the corner towards Welton.
That's right.
He had a little hut there,
Yes.
and he milked.
Yeah.
One cow.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah. Some of them didn't have many cows. No,
Well,
they
Well,
like my
Frank's
grandfather.
grand, she would have been 2 or 3,
That's
no
right.
more.
Yeah, self-sufficient in effect. You know,
Yeah.
in that way. But yeah, I mean, there was Busby's used to be the one I remember coming up. They used to drive their cows up.
Oh, Busby's.
Up
Yeah.
Buckland Road.
Yeah, not Sid. Bill Busby, wasn't it?
No, it
Sid,
wasn't
Sid
Bill.
was the shopkeeper.
Sid
wasn't
was
he?
the shopkeeper.
It was the
Jack
other
was-
two.
yeah,
Bill and something else.
Yes, I don't remember them now. I know. I just remember as a child that I used to
Yeah.
drive these cows up twice a day from down.
All the
Bampton Road.
horns had
Yeah.
gone,
Oh,
to
yeah,
pot.
yeah.
The cow's feet had gone to pot.
Oh yes, they weren't looked after the same as
And
they
an
are these
interesting
days.
thing you mentioned just now, Frank, you said about that was known as the Bourne.
Yes.
And one of the most tragic things that the archives were unable to get was to talk to Arthur Guerin. Arthur Guerin knew every field name. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't realise it. Every field
Oh, yes.
had a name.
Yes. Yes.
And Arthur Guerin knew every one. But as soon as anybody tried to talk to him,
Yeah.
he didn't like a recording machine, etc.
No, I see. Yeah.
And of
Yes.
course he died with
Unfortunately, yeah. Well, this is the problem these days. Well,
Well, this is why it's important.
what you should have done years ago, you know, and asked people about things. You didn't
Yeah.
do it. You didn't do it. But,
I do know that Major Coville had an enormous map of Bampton. He rolled out on his floor of all the fields and their names.
Yeah.
Because I know we
I'm
we
sure
have
it's
what
still
we call
around
Gaelic
somewhere, probably.
expansion.
That, you know, these fields are still named.
Yeah, even to this day.
Yes. I mean, there was one up Grandpad. He had fields on, I would say, probably every road out of Bampton.
That's right, because there was
He
3
had-
together where the old Thatcher went. He had a herd of Herefords. There's a bungalow, isn't it?
Yes.
Down Button Road on
Yes.
the right, there's
Yeah.
a bungalow.
Yes.
And those 3 fields, they were all
were
grants, because
grants.
sometimes
Yeah.
if the lane was bad,
He had
your
quite a
grant
few
would let us
down.
go through there.
I'm not sure as he owned them all. He rented quite a few, but there were some he owned. He owned the Bourne, I know, and I think he owned one down. I think it's called the Third Field down
Thank you! Thank
Field
you!
down Buckland
down
Road.
Buckland Road.
What have I done? He said.
Swimming.
What?
Swimming.
Swimming, yeah. I learned to swim down there.
There you go, third field. I said it. I think I said it on Tommy's tape.
Yeah.
The third field. But an interesting thing, Frank, and you might be able to help us on this a little bit, is that I mentioned third field was where we used to go swim. It was your Gramps Field, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Which one is that? Is it? You got the sewage works.
Yes.
Is it the next one or the next
No,
one?
it's the next one after
So
that.
it is. Sewage works is field number
Yes.
1, then
Yes.
2,
Yes.
then your.
And then the third field.
So is
Third
that
field.
behind the football field now, or behind the garden place?
I suppose it is the football field now, isn't it?
I think there might
I know
be
you had
those one
the
before, I
third
think.
field. You could go through the stream,
That's right.
and there's a
then
field at the
side-
other side, and he
You
had
go to
both of
Western
those
Road.
fields.
You did. That's right.
Yes, he
Yeah.
had both of those fields.
So we
It was known as the third field. That's
Yeah.
what I can say.
well,
Tonight.
we then found out through these sort of talks that Tommy Guerin was telling us how there was a sluice down the Isle of Wight brook.
Mhm.
And they used to put the sluice in, and Janet's actually got photos. Do you remember old Miss Cooper?
Yes.
I think you was with us. The first time you and I ever saw a topless woman was Miss Cooper, sat in the middle, stood in the middle of the Thames.
I don't remember that. Don.
Dropping, no, you're thinking, you're playing innocent, aren't you? And she pulled her top down and bar soap in the middle of the Thames, a bar soap. She
Oh,
washed
did
her. But she used to take the.
I wish I could remember that.
She used to take the girls swimming.
Oh,
right?
yes, yeah. I know she
She doing
did
it
some-
after
yeah, that's
Barbara
right,
Green
yes,
Pan Press,
yeah.
and she taught all
Yeah.
that, and they used to pay. And evidently, Jan found out that Carrier Green, the kids used to pay Carrier Green to take them down the sluice gate, or I say the sluice part, or the Thames,
Yeah.
for swimming lessons.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
Can you remember doing
No.
swimming lessons?
I didn't do swimming lessons. I
No,
just
no,
learned.
Miss.
I know
Miss
she
Cooper.
did. I know she did do swimming lessons,
Yeah.
but I didn't. No, I just
You're
learned
coming
away
on
with
innocent with me.
Ron Amos and Per Stixie. We used to go down there, you know, and it was just a pool there. The other place we used to go was the back of the
church?
No, the big house down High Street. Oh dear.
Oh, the Grange.
Grange, the back of the Grange. There's
Yeah.
a big pool there in the stream. Used to be. I haven't been round that way for a long
'Cause
time.
they actually had a swimming pool, didn't they?
Oh yes, Dad used to work there. Well, you'd go and clean it out at times and do a
Did
bit
he?
of gardening, yes, for him at weekends and so forth. And also Dr. Atkinson, he used to.
Yeah.
Where
No,
did Dr. Atkinson live?
He lived up in the house opposite the toll
Box House?
Box House.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the doctor in Bampton, a wonderful doctor. He kept my grandfather alive actually. When he was about, I think Grant was probably around about 65, and he had heart problems, and he was virtually on his deathbed. And the doctor came and he was with him. I've got writings in a book about it. And the doctor was with him, I think, for about an hour and a half one evening, and then left him and sort of really almost gave up. But he came the next morning, and Grant was lively again, and about 3 days later he was up and walking about again.
Fantastic.
But he was a wonderful doctor, Atkinson was. He was a,
Yeah.
as a child,
Blissful though, isn't he?
he was very, for children especially, you know, if you didn't do what he told you, he just didn't want to know, and then he would say so, as I remember, because Grandpa had an old English sheepdog, which was chained up in the yard. It was a lovely
Well,
dog,
I remember him.
a wonderful dog.
Yeah,
He would
I
let
remember
people
him.
buy, it was on a long chain, he would let people buy, but he wouldn't let them back out again, this
That
dog.
reminds me of your three dogs when I first knew you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But anyway, one day I remember I was in the yard and I was playing about with him. It was my fault entirely, and he turned around and bit me in the face up here, and my eye and that, it was really bad. And Dr. Atkinson had me up there and sorted it all out, and you know, you can only see scars now sort of first things in the morning, I think. So
Right.
yeah, he was a wonderful doctor, but he was a frightening man to go to, quite honest.
Yeah.
He was very good.
Frank, Jan, can we go on a little bit longer? Because it's the sort of thing. Frank and I have grown up together in Bampton. Frank is Bampton born. I'm not Bantonian. I was born in Wiltshire. But there's the sort of things that I think are of interest. One was the parties we used to go to, Frank. Lord Downshire.
Yes.
Sunday school parties
Yes,
there. Can you remember? We used to take. This is during the war. We used to have to take our mug and plate.
I remember of them, Don, but I don't remember much about them.
I
Let's put it
haven't
that
heard
way.
that name before. Where did he live?
He was
The Grange.
Right.
Grange, yeah.
His one of his sons became. You know, there was a series The Saint, Roger
Yes,
Moore,
yeah.
and there was a series The Baron.
Oh yes.
He was the Baron.
Oh.
Lord Downshire was
son.
the Baron. Yeah.
I didn't know.
And he would have his kids down there for Christmas parties.
Yeah, I
wasn't it?
remember a bit about of it, but as regards
It was the war years, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Really.
I remember during the war we used to go as children. We used to go around to the rectory at the back of the church, and it was now who was the vicar then?
Bateman.
Bateman. Yes.
Was that Cobb House?
Yes.
It was Cobb House, yes. We used to go there, and I don't know what it was called, but I know sort of Doris Green and all our people of our age, children of our age, used to go around there and cut pictures out of magazines and
It
so
was called the
torchbearers. You got it done. The
It was called the
torchbearers.
Torchbearers.
Stick them in scrapbooks, and they used to be sent abroad to somewhere or other. I don't remember, but I remember going round there sort of once a week, and we used to do that. Bateman was a wonderful vicar in Bampton. Actually, he was.
So I was more of a Coway fan of
Yes.
Because
Oh, yeah.
do you
Yeah,
remember?
no,
Do you remember Bateman kicking George Shears?
No.
Us choir boys, we were that was our first pin money, wasn't it, Frank?
Oh yes.
If you went to,
Sixpence.
you had to go to choir practice on Thursday for
Thursday.
threepence, Sunday morning threepence, and Sunday evening service
Who
threepence.
paid you that threepence?
The
Your
church.
father or
Talking about the church.
The church.
Church.
And
Oh.
once a month the vicar would pay you, and Miss Taunt would keep the register.
That's right.
And if you didn't go on Thursday, but you
didn't
went
get-
on Sunday, you got nothing.
Got nothing.
If you went on Thursday and didn't go on Sunday, you got nothing. But if you went Thursday and a Sunday morning, you got threepence each. You
Yeah.
got sixpence.
Weddings were the good thing. You got more money for the wedding.
That's right. Yeah.
Because that was extra. That came out of the bridegrooms.
And isn't it
First,
lovely? Because, Frank, I've gone around giving talks, and what was the girl, Daphne Tanner? I've met her since.
Yeah.
And you are going to meet June Parker,
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
which was Ernest Parker's daughter.
Yeah.
And you and I sang at June Parker's wedding.
Did we?
And,
You say so.
And Frank, we didn't miss it
Yeah.
because we needed the money so
Yeah,
much, all
yeah.
us kids.
Yeah.
No, there was
Oh,
you,
yes.
Robert Radband,
Laura
Wally
Woodley.
Woodley, Bob Hunt,
Yes.
Terry, who else was there? Myself. There was
Well,
5 or
quite a
6
number
of us.
Yes, yes.
And the chance of earning extra money by singing for a wedding, you didn't miss it, did
No,
you, really?
No, no.
But the Reverend Bateman, it come pay night, and George and Gordon Shears were in the
Oh, that's
choir.
it, they were in it,
Right,
yes,
Kiss
yeah.
Buckingham's relatives.
Yes.
And so George was paying, he said, "Blimey, is that all I get?" And they said, "You ungrateful boy," and he caught hold of him and he kicked him up the backside.
I don't remember that, Don. I thought it did very well. Yeah.
Wonderful.
But no, Bateman was a very good vicar. He ran the youth club in
Yeah.
Bampton, which
See, there again, Frank, I know you probably don't want to commit yourself, and Jan and I are going to interview Doug Reed later. When we would come out, were you ever in the Scouts?
no,
You weren't?
no.
Then I got a feeling it was choirs, because we had the Bampton Choir Door Bashing Club was one organisation that we both belonged to.
I don't
And
know
Wally
about
Woodley
that,
was,
Don.
you know, you come in the old innocent.
I don't know anything
But,
about that.
but the youth club, Frank,
Yes.
can you remember when there was the older ones, older than us, and they
We-
would gamble?
What happened? I think it was from about 5 until 7 o'clock. The younger ones used to go. That was up to about 17 or 18, was it? I think it was up to 18 probably. Used to go from 5 till 7, and then the older people used to go in from 7 until, I don't know, 9 or something like that, which was Doug Reed and that. I remember
Yeah.
going after us.
'Cause it was one of the best
Oh, it was very good.
snooker tables
Yeah, it was
in the county.
It was a what?
And where was
yeah.
that?
And
in the grammar
what is-
school.
What is the
In the old grammar school?
yeah.
In
Yeah.
the, we took actually the archives place. That used to be the table tennis room,
That's right.
and then the snooker
Then the
table used
kitchen,
to be in
there was
the,
a little
where the
little
library is.
room, wasn't it, where the kitchen is? That
Yes.
was a small billiard
Yeah,
table
yeah.
in there.
But the
And
big
then
table was in
one,
where
and
the
darts
library
and
is.
cards, of which Bateman was to do. But these older ones would be gambling away, and they make us kids keep an eye at the door for if the
You were
vicar,
lookout.
if the vicar
yeah,
come.
yeah.
Yeah, and
They
then,
didn't get paid if I remember rightly either, did they?
no, Missy dug in later on.
Did Reverend Bateman teach gardening round at Cobb House? Did he have the boys
I
gardening there?
Don't remember him doing it. No,
Or his wife?
I don't remember it, Janet. No, he may have done, but I didn't.
It was just
I
something
didn't go.
The
Virgil
little
would
people
say.
that were associated with him, and weren't they related? Mrs. Birch.
I think there was probably some relation. Yes,
I got a feeling Mrs. Birch was a sister-in-law. Mrs. Birch worked,
possibly.
lived at Weald Manor.
Yes.
And it was a great group of people
Oh yes. Well,
working for the benefit of,
Yes.
of others. It was
but
brilliant.
Bampton is like that. I think.
Yeah.
You could say the same today.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't live in Bampton now, so I don't.
yeah. But the atmosphere is still
Yes.
there.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think it's
So-
and people that come to Bampton, even just as visitors, they always say that people in Bampton are all very open and and welcome you in. Really,
Yeah,
they're very
we'll talk.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the nicest things about farming was the amount of people that was involved in it. You know, that certainly harvesting time, anybody would come and help
Oh,
you
obviously.
at the weekends or in the evening. And one of the greatest fun times I can remember is when the binder was
Yes,
cutting
yes.
was cutting the corner and getting smaller, and all the rabbits
Yes.
escaping.
Oh, yes. There's a story about that actually, with regard to Grant binding his two sons up there binding, and others, Percy Radband and I think Bert Wiltshire, who was Shady Wiltshire.
Oh,
his name was
yeah.
Shady Wiltshire.
Yeah, I remember him.
He used to come and help out. As you say, people used to come and help out at you know, when busy times. And they were binding this field up at the top of New Road. I'm not sure what the field is called. It used to be, well, in later years, the Bampton played football there, but...
well, we called it, because we bought it from Gramp,
yeah.
and we called it Townsend's Field.
Well,
Then it became the football field, which
yes,
is obviously
yes, yeah, but it's,
then it became the football
it
field.
probably had an earlier name than that.
I think it's still called the football field, actually.
Well, it
to
could
this
be,
day,
I don't
Colin-
know.
Colin's
But anyway,
still
this
called it.
particular field, and they were binding this field, some corn of some sort in there, I don't remember what. But as you say, rabbits that used to run out after the, you know, on the last few rounds of the binder. And this particular day, a rabbit ran out and went across the field into a ditch that ran the full length of the field, open ditch. And I remember son Townsend, that's Gramp's son, shouting across to Perky, "He's coming your way." And without a thought, Perky jumped down into the ditch, held his shirt open. This rabbit came along and he went straight into his shirt and he caught him just like that. He was dead in no time. As I say, this guy only had one eye.
Did he eat them?
Oh,
It was for the
pot. Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. He had quite a number of children, Percy did.
We're talking prior to mixomatosis.
Oh,
well,
yes,
Mixie
yes,
came
yeah,
out what in
rabbits.
1954,
Oh, that's years
and talking
before
about
that. Yeah.
before then, and it was part as a staple diet was rabbit, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
certainly during the war. I mean, it was kept a lot of people going. We used to go. I mean, Jack and Son and me as a youngster, we used to go rabbiting on a Sunday morning. Take the ferrets and they had a little Jack Russell dog, and I used to enjoy that. You go up rabbiting, you know, and come back with a couple of rabbits and they'd be in the pot.
Something to eat.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you do with the skins?
So it was just discarded, I think. I don't know.
No,
Not so?
Stallard.
Well, he may have done. I don't
Oh,
know.
Mr. Stallard
I don't know.
come
Well, he
round by,
probably
you know.
did. Oh, yes, he did used to come round. I don't know what Ran used to do with them. I mean, yeah, I don't know. No idea.
But
I used to
you
enjoy
can
the
imagine.
meat, that was all.
Yeah. Yeah, you can imagine youngsters today that be watching this film sort of thing, and to think what Frank said, we went out the Sunday morning rabbiting with ferrets, and it was great fun.
Oh,
wasn't
it was, yes.
And the rabbit would come up into the. You put nets over, or you go to it where
Put a
there's
net in there.
a barrow of rabbit holes, and you put these nets over them. Put your ferret down and put a net over that. And of course the rabbits shoosh, get out, and you had to be quick. You had to break its neck and stick the net back down again, because there might be another one coming out. You know, no, you didn't do that.
Yeah.
You killed a rabbit.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah.
you rotten that.
But as I say,
Keeps body and soul
another
together.
name of a field that I remember, name I remember is the Coys, which is up Station Road.
Right.
And it's past Henley's farm, and there is a bit of a spinney on the right hand side
Yeah.
of the drive of it. Well, it's a field just that runs down from that spinney. I think it's about two fields past Henley's farm, and that was called the Coys. Now I've looked it up in the dictionary and I can't see any what name.
Yeah.
It
What
relates to.
spelling?
I don't know. How do you spell Coys?
I don't know.
Q-U-O-I-Z-E,
See, it could be
I
somebody's
don't-
name.
I don't
it
know.
could-
It was called the Coys.
So that's interesting, see, Frank. That just kicked some else off in my mind, especially when you consider that Mother and Sunday was only a couple of weeks ago. That we used to, that copse were on about, was that, there's one called the Primrose Copse and one was called the Bluebell Copse.
That's the Bluebell Copse, I think.
That first one,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And I remember we even used to roller skate from Bampton up there and go in the copse. But we used to get the flowers to do into bunches, the wildflowers to do into bunches for Mother and Sunday. Take them to church and they were blessed and given for Mother and Sunday.
lovely.
But these copses were famous for, as Frank just said, that one was Bluebell, and there was a
Oh
Primrose
yes,
one
I mean,
somewhere, wasn't there?
in all fields, or not all, but majority of fields had a watering hole of some sort.
Dew ponds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dew ponds, that's right. All down the Buckland Road. I mean, so I say 2 or 3 fields down there, and I think most of them had
Yeah. And dew
a
ponds.
sunken bit that
That's
was
absolutely
almost filled
right.
with water, you know. And I guess, you know, that was the way they watered cattle in the
Well,
in the
we
past.
we bought those 4 fields, the Busby, we were talking about Busby's walking
yes.
their cows down there, and we bought those 4 fields off of them when they sold out. And each one of those had a dew pond in. Each one, only a 2 acre, and there was a pond in it. And so he
Because there was a lot of wildlife in those sort of things. There was
absolutely.
tadpoles and frogs, and we used to,
Lovely.
as
Wild
children,
duck.
yes. Oh, all sorts of things, yeah. Just all the environment,
nice.
it's lovely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. and then we were saying earlier on about swimming. The only swimming pool for us growing up was Filkins.
Yes, which is still going strong now.
We're bloody cold.
It used to be cold, yes.
They still fill it from the spring, do they?
I think they do, yes. I think they do.
Because you dreaded going on, because the school would take you, but you dreaded going on.
No, I understand it's still used quite well,
Miss Coombs used to, Mrs. Coombs.
Coombs. Yeah. That's
No,
right, yes,
Vic
yes.
Coombs used to
That's
come
right.
into Bampton selling vegetables, etc., that he produced from his farm, the bigger vegetables, on an old motorbike and sidecar. And I forget what sort of, he had to pump it, I think, had to pump the oil
Oh,
into it.
yeah. I don't remember.
And then it was his wife to take us for swimming, and
At Filkins?
At Filkins. I think I only ever went there once because Frank, being the year above me, he passed his 11 plus. I went to Burford, and that was the time I think when Mrs. Coombs started to take Bampton children to Filkins.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, even going to school for Frank and I, the bus would start off from Bampton at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it would go to Clanfield, Grafton,
Quite a roundabout
Kelmscott,
trip, yes.
wasn't it? Kelmscott, Langford, Broadwell, Kenker, Filkins, Burford. And what we found out was that a nice summer's day, it was quicker for us to ride our bike and ride home. I could be home a lot quicker than the bus.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I used to ride back from Burford quite often. I don't think they have the farm there at Burford.
No, that's not.
That's
No,
Frank,
that's
a job,
gone.
really. I mean,
That's one thing that surprised me. You've said that the Hudson family were local,
yes,
living in rural environments, so obviously involved with farming, etc.
yes, they were virtually all with farming.
Then the Townsend's exactly the same.
Yes.
Why weren't you a farmer? I got you.
Well, I was going to say it's a hard life, but no, it was a hard life in those days, I guess. But
What did you do,
no,
Frank?
I followed my father's footsteps as an engineer, so I guess that's where it all came from,
So your dad being an engineer, that's took your interest all the time.
Possibly, yes, I think so. I mean, I did an apprenticeship in a garage in a motor garage in Whitney, and following
Which was that?
it was a fellow called Tap House,
Oh, Tap House's garage, yeah.
which is was at Corn Street on the right hand
Yeah.
side, where the caravan place is
Yeah.
now in Corn Street. Following that, I did my 2 years national service, so I just caught to the end of national service.
Raffer Army for
There I was in the REME, which
Oh,
was
engineer again,
so,
yeah.
I was lucky to get into that, and quite honest, I think I learnt more in the army through on courses than I did probably at technical college in the 5 years beforehand. Came out of the army. I came out on a Thursday. I did the pools, the pools coupon for the Saturday, and I had 24 points.
Wow.
Maximum points.
Wow.
And I thought, well, that can't be a bad life, this. But unfortunately, a lot of other people had it.
So what did you get?
And,
7 and 6?
I had £14 somehow. I think it was.
I still
still
couldn't
In
be
total.
wages.
Oh yeah, in total, yes. But I said that was on the Thursday I came out of the army, and a week on the Monday I started at Smith's Industries at Whitney, as a production worker actually for the first. I worked on the production of automatic transmissions for about 18 months, and then I got into the experimental department in Smith's, which I wanted to get. I asked if I could get in there at the start, but they said there was no vacancies. So I was advised to take a production job, and hopefully a job would come up. And I was very lucky as I say, in 18 months, a fellow went to Australia from there, and I got the job, and I finished up. Well, I worked in there for about. I worked for Smiths for about 27, 28 years, and then at that time they bought a small company doing electronic gauging system for storage tanks to fuel depots, fuel depots and garages and so forth, forecourts. I tried to get I got the job as a service engineer, and that's how I finished up with a service engineer's job. Not with Smiths, because it was sold on after a while. It was an American company that bought it, and I worked for them for the rest of my working life, and retired, and I've enjoyed life ever since.
The only disappointing fact, there's no Fergie T20 stuck in your
No, that's it. No, that's right. No. Well, there's still plenty about, I think, Don.
There's some village. I was in Aston the other day, in one of the little closes in Aston, and looked over this carnival, and there's a T20 with a sheet over
Oh,
it.
is there? Yeah. Oh, there's quite a few around. Yeah.
And I'm told Middleton Stone is another place where there's loads of Massey Fergie stuff. Yeah.
Oh, they're a wonderful little machine, actually, when they came out, those little Fergies.
I always used to have loads and loads of banter with your dad, and I used to say to your dad, the only good thing with the Fergie is if you got stuck, you get off, pick it up, put it on fresh ground, and start again.
Yeah. Oh, they were a small tractor, you know.
He used to hammer me about David Brown, so I always come worse off.
Yeah. No, he liked his Fergus, Dad did.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky. I mean, as I say, I've had a very lucky life. I was brought up by my grandparents. As I told earlier that my mother died when I was about 7 weeks old. Oh. So it was a toss-up whether I was gonna. They were all fighting after me, apparently. My grandparents, my auntie who had married a butcher and lived down at near Red Hill in Nutfield, and one of Dad's brothers who lived in Barking in Essex. And
how lovely that you were wanted and not just put in an orphanage.
As I say, I've had a lucky life, I must admit. And I was, as I say, I was brought up by my grandparents who were wonderful to me, and my gran was like a mother to me, you know. And then when they passed on, I lived with Dora for a while until I got married in 1973.
Well, certainly, Bampton's gain. You're not you staying here anyway. That's for sure. I mean, it's a wonderful place. I've seen a lot of the world since we've been retired, and it's always nice to get back into this area. Quite honest. Yeah, it's a wonderful. As I say, area. There's no place like home. No, that's true enough. Yeah. Whatever holiday you've had, I mean, we've had some wonderful holidays, but it's always nice to get back home. Yeah.
But you still have done an awful lot for Bampton.
Absolutely.
How many years have you been with the Spadgers?
Well, you said how many years have I been with them?
I don't mean as a senior citizen. I'm not
on the Spadgers these days.
No, but you put in many years.
3 years ago, but I was 40 years with the Spadgers.
I thought it was a long
40
time.
years, I thought that was time. Time to give up.
Yeah, but the point is, Frank, you're always willing to give advice. You're always willing to help us. You always run stores, and at the moment, you're helping us do the Spadger archive, where we're hoping to have a month's display in the Vasey room about the story of the Spadgers. So, you know, we are indeed indebted.
Were you a founding member of the Spadgers with them?
No.
Right.
I was co-opted on by Mr. Quick.
Yes.
I was. He used to bring people onto the Spadgers committee, and they always had to have a reason to come on there. So I was technical engineer, according to John. I was technical engineer. So,
Voices dreamed up. He dreamed
I mean, ever since the Spadgers started, they've had a very good committee, quite honest, and people have worked hard for them. None more than John Quick when he started it, you know. But, that's another story.
There was Peggy Roberts. When I joined, there was Peggy Roberts.
Was that the hairdresser?
Yeah. Peggy Roberts, Ruth.
Few women. Maurice
Wiggins.
Now was he the horseshoe?
He was the treasurer.
He was treasurer.
Right.
And then Pete Elliott.
Oh, Pete Elliott.
A little bit later, sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, there's been so many honest badgers over the years, you know.
And Ruth, I mean,
Ruth Wheeler.
Ruth Wheeler.
Ruth Wheeler, yeah.
What was her title?
I don't know what he gave her title. Yeah,
Tea,
it would be.
tea girl.
I don't know, it'd be interesting, yeah. But John always used, when he got people on, he'd always, his minute book is something worth reading, actually.
Oh,
and it's his old
absolutely.
minute books.
Does that still exist?
Yes,
I've got
he's
some
got
of
it.
them. I've got some of them, yes.
It's unbelievable. Very often he was so concise. A meeting taking 2 hours would be put in about 4 lines.
Yeah, I was going to say, it'd be on one page anyway.
Yeah, and meeting finished in good order.
Yeah.
Good argument in the middle, but finished in good order. Oh.
Absolutely brilliant. But that is it. Bampton is so full of lovely characters who were given their time, and who was it? Bob Landry was one of the early ones.
Oh, he was
wasn't
on it, yes, yeah, there was, good lord.
And there was an American major or something, wasn't it? Colonel?
Was he on
Wait,
the committee?
somebody
Oh yeah,
Wait.
Wait, yes, that's right, he was American, I think, yes, you're right, Don.
So
Yeah,
where
I'd
did
have to
he
look
live?
back at- I think he probably lived in Bampton, didn't he?
Yeah,
must
yeah,
have
he
done.
lived in
Yeah,
Bampton.
yeah.
Do you know where?
I don't. Simon Bovington, I'll tell you what, because I think Simon Bovington is still in touch with them, or with his family.
Oh, really?
Because it was Paul Bovington, and this Wade and Landry, they're all buddies together, and John Quick and Doug Reed, they're all buddies together, you know, real bunch of good lads,
Yeah.
real good eggs they were.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
then they got it going.
Well,
That's,
Thanks.
thank you very, very much for having us here and going through with us.
Well,
and I'm sure
probably a lot of other things we'll remember afterwards,
Yeah.
you know.
when you and I are dead and gone, people say,
Yeah.
"Oh, Brian was Bampton like that in them days."
Yeah.
Thank you,
wonderful.
thank you so
Okay,
much,
you're
Frank.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.